Welcome back to LBG Reviews. Today we'll be talking about Thank Goodness You're Here. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Thank Goodness You're Here is a bizarre comedy British humor game that went viral a few weeks back, or even a month back at this point. The game is full of random jokes, random humor, bizarre things to experience. The game doesn't really have an accessibility settings, and that's partially because the game is so simple. You have your basic movement controls, you have a jump, and you can slap things. That's all you can do to interact with the world around you. Now, there's a lot that you can do with slapping things in this game. A lot of things I don't want to talk about because I know my mother watches these videos, but there's a moment when because there are a bunch of little storylines for you to follow, right? So there's one where a gardener has a dried up hose line that he needs you to go track down where the hose is connected to and turn back on the water so he can water his garden. You go through the neighborhood, you find where the hose is connected up, you turn back on the water, you go back to the gardener at some point, and his garden has grown really well. But then he's like, we need some fertilizer. And so you go to a vegetable shop, and you've got this guy that's gone crazy, throwing vegetables over the place. So when you finally get in there, you eventually just slap a mirror in his face, and you get this bizarre flashback where people all of his life have been telling him, you're too short, or your head's an odd shape. And then you get imagery of later on in his life when a girl tells him, no, it's not oddly shaped, I love you for it anyways. And then later on, as he's going through his life, as people pick on him as he's running the store, eventually you see his wife leaving him saying, it's just too weirdly shaped, I can't do it anymore. And things like that. And there's another part where you gotta help out this guy make a meat pie, and when you first go get the meat for the meat pie, you end up in this bizarre fever dream-like state where there's a meat landscape around you, and you have to slap bits of meat to send them to a meat pile that looks like the butcher. And then after all the meat is around the meat butcher, he turns into this bizarre meat mushroom cloud looking thing and just eats you, and then you have to walk the meat back to the baker. The game is so bizarre, dude. The humor is always on point, even if it makes you feel a bit awkward, feel a bit insecure, feel a bit uneasy, a bit uncomfortable at times. The humor is always on point with this game. That's really all I've got to say about Thank Goodness You're Here. Next week we'll talk about Bread and Fred, a unique co-op and single-player game where you play as penguins trying to get up a mountain, where you have to rely on the other person to be able to climb the mountain with you because you're tied together by a rope. The game has a few accessibility settings that make climbing this mountain easier, and an accessibility setting that kind of trivializes things, but it's a nice feature to have if you don't have so many other settings turned on. I hope you guys are looking forward to this climbing adventure because this will be one of the few times where my mom's input is also involved. See you guys then. Bye.